This video will highlight some of the new features in version 7.11. Beginning in the Data Manager, when you select the Data Manager now, you will notice that there is a new tab, and that tab is called Documentation. The documentation is used to enter certain documentation for performance or behaviors. There are some predefined codes in the upper right-hand corner that you will notice, such as coaching, behavior, W for warning, P for performance, H for help cover shift, G for gave away shift, and O as a catch-all for other. Using documentation has many benefits, including having readily available information should you have an unemployment hearing for this particular employee, as well as doing employee performance reviews. So let's go ahead and enter a documentation. In order to do so, click on the date that you wish to enter the documentation. Simply press P for performance. Notice a new window opens up right away, where you then must enter the documentation for this particular code. So let's go ahead and enter some information regarding this performance code for this employee. Could not keep up with fries today. Had chat with Brenda regarding this. Simply click OK, and then you'll notice the yellow P has been entered. And of course, be sure that you click on Save to save that performance code. So that's documentation, an all-new feature in version 7.11. Another new and very exciting feature is called At a Glance. You'll notice the At a Glance area here on the administrative toolbar under Reporting. When you click At a Glance will present you with a screen which shows you a lot of new information. The top half of the At a Glance screen will show you your scheduled employees for that particular day. So here we have by default selected Tuesday, which in this example is the first day of the week. In this area then you'll notice that you have a breakdown by 15-minute increments of all the employees that you have working on that day. Starting at 5 a.m. So from 5 to 5:15 there are 2. From 5:15 to 5:30 there are 2. The 15-minute increment ending at 5:45 there are 2, and so forth. You can scroll across the entire day to see what you have scheduled in 15-minute increments for this particular day. Notice that you have several rows of information here. You have FL, BL, NS, and then total. FL standing for frontline, BL for backline, NS for not specified. You will recall in an earlier version we introduced frontline and backline designators. These can be accessed here in the total area by clicking in basically an invisible space. For instance, here on the left, if I click, I can designate this employee as a frontline worker for this shift. If I click to the right, it's now a backline person, or I can turn it off by clicking in the center. So if I make Brenda here a frontline person on Tuesday, notice now how this frontline shows up here in your little breakdown window. So now you still have 2 total for the day, but one is a frontline worker and one is still not specified. I would strongly encourage you to specify what your workers are so you can see at a glance what's happening as you're doing your schedule. So now you see frontline 1, backline 1, not specified is empty now because we did indicate what these 2 workers are working, and then 2 is the total for the number of employees working at the 15-minute increment ending at 5:15. Notice also that as you change things, for instance, if I change this time from 1:30 to 2 o'clock, this all updates automatically. So now, let's do this again so that you can better see this. I'm going to change this to 3 p.m. And you can see this time now filling in the backline area all the way to 3 o'clock. So it updates on the fly. If you wish to see a different day, say Wednesday, just click on the radio button, and now all the information contained on the screen reflects Wednesday for that week. On the lower part of the screen, you'll see crew hours by day part, and we'll get to day parts here in just a moment. But this will give you a breakdown of what's scheduled, what's allowed, and any variance from what's allowed. This will utilize payroll guidelines which you have entered into your program. If you have not entered any payroll guidelines into your program, such as a payroll chart or any payroll percentages, depending upon what your company utilizes, then this information will not be accurate. Also, if you wish, you can increase the size of this form by utilizing the zoom level. You can make this form larger, or you can make this form smaller. You can move it around on the screen. You can have it open while you're doing other things. For instance, if you're utilizing predefined shifts, you can select a shift, or you can have the predefined shift window open at the same time. Depending upon how much real estate space and screen space you have, you can have both of these windows open at the same time. The at-a-glance window is very beneficial as it allows you to see what you're scheduling, and it keeps you from having to scroll up and down on your schedule all the time and having to add up what you have already scheduled. So make good use of the at-a-glance window. The more you use it, the more you'll really begin to appreciate the benefit of having this screen. I'm going to go ahead and close the at-a-glance. The at-a-glance window also contains comparisons by daypart. Dayparts are a new feature of version 7.11 where you can now define these dayparts. You can access them by clicking Setup and then the Program Options tab. Notice here on the right a new area called Dayparts with 6 dayparts predefined for you. These are the default dayparts the program comes with. If you wish to change them, simply click on the start or end time arrows and change them to whatever time is appropriate for your restaurant. You can also change what these dayparts are called by simply changing the name in the box. Now it's important that you follow some rules. First of all, never overlap daypart times. The program will complain and will not let you save if you have overlapping daypart times. Also, you should keep the dayparts sequential as in this example here. And finally, be sure that you include all 24 hours whether you use the dayparts or not. Once satisfied with your dayparts, simply click Apply, and if everything checks out, the daypart data is saved, and you can close the Program Options window. That is setting up dayparts new in version 7.11. Another new feature of 7.11 is sales forecasting. Sales forecasting is a very important part of making out a good schedule. It helps you determine how many hours you are allowed, and of course that dictates how many employees you'll be allowed to schedule. So let's take a look at sales forecasting and how that has changed in this new version. In the past, you were able to enter your sales forecast for the entire day, one day at a time in this row here at the bottom of the schedule. That is no longer the case. You now have to click this button on the left that says This Year Forecast. When you click this button, a new window will open up, and this is your forecast window. It's divided into 2 areas. In the top area, you have a single daily sales entry area where you can enter total sales for the entire day. As you can see, in the middle section, you can enter sales hour by hour for the entire week. This will help you with an even more accurate forecast. And in the next section, you'll see a total of your day parts, depending upon what you define your daypart times as for each of the dayparts that you have defined in your setup. Now, the single daily sales entry row and this middle section of hourly forecasting are mutually exclusive. You either enter your total sales for the day or you enter your hourly forecast. If you enter total sales for the day, for example, I'm going to just enter $5,000 just as an example. You will notice that even though these numbers are still in place, all of your day parts are 0 and your total sales are 5,000. This row overrides anything that you put in here. So if you do not wish to make a total sales entry for the day, leave it blank and enter your hourly sales. And now your hourly sales will take priority. Depending upon how the program is configured, you may or may not see this row. Your administrator can turn this row off, indicating that you cannot enter a daily sales forecast, that you must utilize an hourly sales forecast. So if you don't see this row right here, your administrator has turned this function off and is asking that you only utilize hourly forecasting. If you do see this row, it's optional. You can enter either total sales for the day or you can take your sales and break them down by hour. Best practice would indicate that you would utilize an hour by hour breakdown for the most accurate and useful information for forecasting. Another new feature is a new report or an updated report that we have that's called Scheduled Employees, Sales and Labor Breakdown for a Single Day. If I select this particular report, let's just take the first day of my week. I will get a breakdown of all the employees scheduled. Any managers who are job code 5 and higher will be indicated in bold, as well as the sales forecast for this particular day and allowed and scheduled hours and hour variance hour by hour for that particular day. Now these are estimations in terms of allowed hours based upon your labor guidelines. There is no allowance made for fixed hours where you have food prep and those types of things. You'll have to know where you're utilizing the food prep hours. However, this will give you a good overview hour by hour of what's going on your schedule. You can then optionally print this report, keep it on a clipboard, and then track your sales throughout that particular day to see how it's matching up against your forecast. If your sales are exceeding your forecast, then you're probably doing okay on labor. If your sales are not hitting your forecast, that might be an indication that you might have to make some adjustments to your labor. So this is a very good tracking tool which you can utilize throughout the business day. When you click print, you'll also be given the option to print this report, either a single copy or all 7 days. So if you really like this report and you like keeping this on a clipboard, you can print all 7 days out ahead of time and have them ready to go for tracking throughout the business week. I'm just going to click cancel here. So this is the today's scheduled employees and tracking report. So in this video, I've demonstrated some of the key new features of version 7.11. I hope you'll like them and will make good use of them. Until next time, thanks for your support.